You're not a Jew. You shouldn't have that faith. But he helped the lady out because he healed the lady because she did have that faith, right? So Paul said, "I'm not ashamed of the gospel. It's the power, it's the very power of God unto salvation that one that believes." He said, "To the Jew first, then also to the Greek. For here is righteousness revealed of God, from faith unto faith, as it is written, the righteous shall live by faith." So now he is establishing. Okay, we finna start talking about faith. This is how we gotta live. We gotta start living by faith, right? He said that this is how we establish our righteousness is in faith. Now, understand, I had a close sibling of mine, my brother. We was talking, and he was saying we were talking about Abraham and how Abraham didn't have the law, right? The law, Abraham predeceived the law. He was before the law. Forget what word I'm trying to use. But the Bible said it was counted unto Abraham righteousness was his faith, right? Was when God told him to go take his son up there to be sacrificed, and he went up there believing in God that you just you promised me this son, you give me this son, then now you want me to sacrifice this son. But it was his obedience and then his faith to trust that God knew what he was doing, that God had something else planned. So now in this dispensation where Christ reigns, we are to operate in faith in God. That's what Christ did. Brought us back to faith. He fulfilled the law. He didn't get rid of the law. Many people teaches that he got rid of the law. No, he fulfilled the law. What fulfilling the law is saying that he came and lived the everything to the point, to the T in the law, and then he died for us and said, okay, now the law is not done away with but fulfilled. So now he said, I leave unto you a new law, and that's to love God and love each other. Now basically, if you loving God and you loving each other and you're doing that correctly, you are walking in the law anyways, because all the law came down was to those two things. But let's get back into the scriptures before I get off terribly. It says, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who hinder the truth in unrighteousness, because that which is known of God is manifest of him." Manifest in them. For God manifests it unto them. Let me stop right there. Let me just stop right here. We're talking about. It says that I want you to really listen to this. It says, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who hinder the truth in unrighteousness." Now, a matter of fact, I've been in deep conversations, and it says that if God is so loving, how can we think that God is going to have a wrath? How could we think that God could be a wrathful God? And I was saying to them, and I broke it down, the Bible says in 1 Peter, I think it is. I forget where, but the hell was for the devil and his angels. But here it says, and it says those who follow him. And you follow him by being ungodly and in unrighteousness, the ungodliness and the unrighteousness of man, who hinder the truth, who stops the truth, who lie to people, who do all this stuff to people. And now Paul is talking to the church. Paul is talking to the Romans. He's talking about the world. He's talking about the Roman church. And the word of God says, "Because that which is known of God is manifested in them, for God manifested into them. For the invisible things of him since the creation of the world are clearly seen, being perceived through the things that are made, even his everlasting power and divinity, that they may be without excuse." So it says God showed him. This is what's real about the first book of Romans. I like this right here. It takes all the excuses out of everything. It says, no, God manifests. God show us who he is. Every man. Right? He said this to the Rome. It says some people be lying, and the reason why we call them liars is because God manifests Himself through him, to them, that He is real. He manifests through His everlasting power and divinity. It said there be no excuse because God made Himself known to everyone. There's no excuses. It says, because that knowing God, they glorify Him not as God, neither gave thanks, but because vain in their reasoning, in their understanding was vain, in their reasoning, and their senseless heart was dark, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God for the likeness of an image of corruptible man. It says also of birds, of four-footed beasts, and creeping things. They changed the likeness and the image of an incorruptible God to a corruptible man. And of birds, of 4-footed beasts, creeping things. You know, bugs, insects, those are creeping things. 4-footed beasts, cows. There's religions out there that worship cows. There's religions out there that worship goats, lizards and snakes. Those are creeping things. Birds, America. Oh, look at America. We have the eagle. Right now, we don't come out and say we worship it, but we hold it at a high place like we do. Anywhere you see a flag, you're going to see an eagle. What about when America and the flag be on the shirts? There's an eagle present. Just an example. Entertainers. These are corruptible things that we worship now. Beyonce got the Bayhive. Corruptible things. The Bayhive got a church called the Church of Beyonce, where they go and sing her songs and worship to her, out openly. Incorruptible men, or in this case, incorruptible women. That's what they want to worship now. Why? Because they don't like God because of His unrighteousness. I don't want to stick on this too long. I gotta get through this. But you guys understand, if a person tell you there's no God, they lying. And you just gotta find out what God in their life. Because the reason why they don't want to have a God is because God doesn't accept their ungodliness and their unrighteousness. It says in 24, wherefore God gave them up to their lusts of their heart and uncleanness, that their body should be dishonored among themselves. For they exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worshiped and served the creation rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For God, it says in 26, verse 26, for God, verse 26, for this cause God gave them up to vile passions. For their woman exchanged the natural use that noise outside. Y'all gotta please forgive me. It says, for their women changed the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise did they men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burn in lust towards one another, men with men working unseemliness, and receiving in themselves the recompense of their errors which was due. That's talking about homosexuality. It says, for verse 26, 24 to about 27, it talks about because they start worshiping other stuff, God gave them to unnatural passions. he gave them to unnatural lust, which dishonored their bodies, not just homosexualities, but then they start having sex with dogs. Men start having sex with each other. Women start having sex with each other. Unnatural, going against nature. It says, and in 28, verse 28, and even as they refuse to have God in their knowledge, God gave them up to reprobate minds, to do things which were not fitting, being filled with unrighteousness, wickedness, covetousness, maliceness, full of evil, murder, strife, deceit, malignant, whisperers, backbiters, hateful of God, insolent, hardy, boastful, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, who without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affections, unmercy, who knowing the ordinance of God. It says ordinance of God, that they practice such things that are worthy of death. Not only do the same, but also consent with them that practice it. So it says all these different things, all of this stuff. This is worthy of death. This is worthy of hell. Death is when you and God separate. All death is separation. Separation from the body. And sin, all these different things, it just makes that death come faster because the body can't hold sin. The body wasn't made for sin. And once this body give out, you're going to separate spiritually. Then you're going to see God. And God looking at you and all of this sin and all this hate for him, it's going to be a separation. That's why these people are deserving of hell. Because they say, a lot of people say, how can a good God send people to hell? That's because people are not good. They're acting off all the stuff that's counter to God. It's not the problem of a good God, it's the problem of a bad people. And a good God, me as a father, I would not dare let a murderer, someone who loves to murder people in my house. Someone who just murdered somebody last night. You're not going to let them in the house if you know they just did that. You're a good father. You're a good mother. Same thing with a good God. All of these things are counter to God. All of these things. But it says right here, it says, who knowing the audience of God, they that practice such things are worthy of death. Not only do the same, but also content with them that practice that. That means that those who are saying, okay, well, you know what, you should practice that. You may not practice it, but you're telling other people to do it. Are you telling people that it's okay? We should be going after righteousness. We should be going after righteousness. All of this unrighteousness and ungodly stuff we should have no parts of as a people of God. And that's what Paul is telling to the Romans. We should be going after righteousness to be with a right God. I hope I was able to articulate this chapter to you, the first chapter of Romans. I hope it helps you. I hope that something in here draws you closer and nearer to God, but also put you on the path of righteousness, not unrighteousness, of righteousness. I want to say I love you. God love you. God bless, and I see you in the next chapter.